Let me show you how to put the seat on your VTX1300. This is a simple procedure. You'll have to especially watch on the springs. There's a special way we have to do it. But anyway, the first thing we want to do is grab our pan, then this bracket right here, and if you'll notice, I put the bolts up through the bottom. I put those through the bottom. That way when we slide this on and off, these won't catch the wires. So slide those up through the bottom, and then put your nylock nuts and washers on this side. Yours will be black. The only reason I do the metal is it's so much easier to see on the videos. Do that, and then we'll show you how to put the springs on the bike. Grab your spring and your Allen wrench. This is the one that we give you in the kit. It's fastened to the bottom of your seat. What we want to do, we want to slide the Allen wrench up through the bottom of the spring just like this, with a loop down on the spring like that. Okay, what we do, we set the button head screw that we give you on the end of the Allen wrench like that. Oh, by the way, these will be in the pan there, so you can just take them out when you get the pan. Anyway, we slide that through there like that, and then we push that down through the hole. And now we slide the washer through the spring like this. I'm trying to do this and do video at one time. Then go ahead and push that up in there like that. That way the washer is on the bottom of that loop down there. Okay, then we just go ahead and put that through there like that, and put the nut on the bottom. I will do the same thing to the other side. As I tighten these up, you'll notice that I have I call this the little squiggly. The squiggly's on the inside of both of these springs. It's important to do it the right way. Now, this is the end of June 2018. These springs could vary just a little bit. Our manufacturer tries to get them as close as he can, but sometimes they will vary a little bit. So for right now, let's put the squigglies on the inside as we tighten these. Right now, what we wanted to do, we want the springs to be on the inside of this bracket. This is the bracket that goes on the bottom of your seat. This is the bracket that will be on the bottom of your seat. What we want this to straddle on the outside of the springs like that. Now, for some reason down the road, if these change, it doesn't really matter. They can go on the inside to outside, outside to inside, inside on both. It doesn't matter. Just as long as the seat fits on there nice and pretty close, the springs will give a little bit. So it's no big deal. But just we want them to match fairly closely. So anyway, for right now, squigglies on the inside. Go ahead and tighten these springs up on the bottom there. Oh, one thing too, and this is obvious, these will have to be forward. These springs will have to be faced forward on both sides. This is the hardware that you'll have on the bottom of your seat. This front bracket is adjustable back and forth. That's why we put the slots in it. So when you first start, you may just want to set it on the center of this screw right here, the center of the slot. That's how ours worked out, and then you can adjust it back and forth in order to fit it on the pan. Basically, what will happen is the seat will just mount on there like this. I'm going to show you how to mount the brackets or the seat without the seat on the brackets. That way it's much easier to see. Here's the seat mounted on the pan. I'm going to take this off because there again I can show you easier with the seat off. Okay, so if you'll notice the bracket on the bottom, we've got it screwed to the springs here. You've got the screw, the big washer is against the spring, and then the nylock nut. And the same thing on this side. It's really important that you get that big washer against the spring, not the outside of the bracket. Then you can go ahead and tighten this one up. This one doesn't have to swivel, so you can snug this one up. It doesn't have to be ridiculous. Okay, then on this side. Okay, now it's really important on this one that after we get this mounted, it swivels. You can snug them up, but then you have to back them off because this thing has to be able to swivel and move up and down a little bit so that it won't fatigue and break these arms on this bracket. And also the seat, as it goes up and down on the springs, it has to be able to move a little bit. So go ahead and snug these up and then back them off so that this swivels. It doesn't even hurt to give it a little shot of oil on there just to make sure this keeps moving freely. And that's basically how it is. Now, you'll have to move your seat forward and back on these slots in order for the springs to mount straight up and down. If anything, a little bit forward is okay. I'll turn this way. You want the springs to be straight up and down to the base, or slightly forward. You don't want them to be backwards. That wouldn't be too good. So adjust this slot here, the seat, so that your springs end up straight up and down. So there you have it. I'm going to go and show you how to mount this to the motorcycle. Before we mount our seat, make sure that this area is clean. There's nothing sticking up, and make sure these wires are sticking down in there, because you don't want those to be here on the edge and pinch the pan when we put that on. So wire tie these in place so they don't move. Okay, I'm going to put the pan on the bike. You'll notice the tab in the front goes under this little section up front there, and then the tabs just lay on the holes here. Now when you tighten this up, make sure that this front stays centered, and it's forward and centered. Okay, one last look at the front here. You notice that tab goes under this portion here, and these edges butt up against this little flange here. Make sure the seat pan is as far forward as it can be when you tighten it, and centered. Make sure it's centered the same distance here and here. And then on the back, it's kind of the same thing. Make sure you got the same distance here and here. Make sure it's centered, and then just go ahead and tighten this up. You have to put a wrench on the bottom side, but go ahead and snug these up. And there you have it. And the cool thing about this is to remove the seat and the pan and everything, you just undo these two screws and lift the whole thing off to get to the wiring and all that kind of stuff. So there you have it.